folks, you should have on your tables a BLG Leadership Meeting sheet. Go ahead and get that out if you haven't already. We've got a number of things on there. The first thing that I want to bring to your attention is our booklets there. Hopefully you have these, you've studied them, you've looked over them. I think most of you, or a lot of you, were at our last meeting where we really dove into this in detail. But if you weren't, hopefully you watched the video. I encourage also your other leaders who possibly aren't here tonight. We'll have a video posted on the meeting. They can watch it as well. But one of the things that we asked you to do was to fill out for us, give to us, send to Rhonda specifically your class structure. Obviously your teacher, your coach, your teaching apprentice, discipleship, champion, shepherd, all of those leaders. And I've got just a handful of them. I'm going to name names here. The Dixon class, kudos. You got yours done. Garippa, 11 a.m. Woo-hoo, way to go. Ken Hess, good job. Peter Hone, he's got some names on here. Is he represented? Hone's not here, is he? Al Masilli, he's got a few of his done. So, if I didn't name your name, then we are missing information from you. So please work to get those positions filled. And again, as we talked about, I understand that size on some of your classes would preclude some of the positions. That's fine. I'm about to speak. Excuse me, got out way before I anticipated. Okay, so I understand that some of your classes size-wise, you may not be able to fill all of them, but you need a coach. Teachers, you need to be looking for teacher apprentices. And a number of you have shared with me that you have been really seriously thinking on that, talking to people. I've had reports already of a number of you that have had some of these folks fill in and teach for you. The discipleship champion, that is something that really is important. And I know that's a new concept to you. We'll talk about that with the discipleship cycle here in a little while. But shepherds, you must have shepherds. You really, really need to have shepherds in a ratio of 1 to 10, individual or couple. Okay, 1 to 10, but you need to have shepherds shepherding your folks. The ones that were the optional ones that the coach can take care of if your class is not big enough, you don't have enough members, missions, evangelism, fellowship, and prayer coordinator. Any questions on that? Any questions? And you can just, once you get these on, and if you don't have them all, don't use that as your reason for not giving us that information. Just piecemeal it to us if you need to, just so that we can be plugging them in as we go along. Okay, the discipleship cycle. Who is in a classroom that has one of the big discipleship cycle posters in it? All right, we've got a few of you. All right, that is this poster right here in about a 4x4 form that is in a number of our smaller classrooms in this DC hallway. Now, some of your classes, I don't have the ability currently, i.e. a board, to put those posters on. So that's why you don't have one, and you know who you are and what those classrooms. For instance, this classroom right here does not have a board to put one on. So teachers, we have this in a PowerPoint form. So if you use PowerPoint, screens, digital, we can get that to you anytime you need to use it. But let me go over this with you right here. If you will catch the light just right on this blue side, you will see some creases that have been put in here. And y'all look right here real quick. Okay, I'm putting that straight up right there. Along this line right here, there's a white line, there's a crease. And you should be able to fold that right along that crease. All right? And then there's this other white line right here. You should be able to fold this along that other white line. Now you're probably asking yourselves, why are we having to do this? Well, that's a good question. That would be because we could not find anyone that had a folding machine that could do what we needed to. We made this up. We were just lucky that we were able to get it printed and cut in a circle. So this is intended for you to stick in your wallet, in your purse, in your Bible. It can be used in two ways. It can be used with anyone who you know is a believer, in your class, having lunch with someone that's a business associate that claims to be a follower of Christ. Use this. This is a great, great tool to open this thing up. And let's just read it there. Where are you? That applies to anyone, saved or unsaved. You look on the other side and it says, we are all on a journey through this life that God has given us. Oh, that's pretty scripturally sound there. We open that up and it said, there are questions we should ask ourselves. Where am I right now and where am I moving next? Everybody can identify with that. You open it up, and we've been over this before. Hopefully you've gotten familiar with this now. It starts over here with I'm not a Christian, I'm a seeker, to I'm a follower of Christ in the green here, and I am reproducing and I am discipling others. So this, I think, is a really great tool for you to use, and we're going to have these available. We have a lot of these. So what I will do is I will put them in your boxes. They will come just like this. Okay, they'll come just like that. And it'll be incumbent upon you in your classes to do what I just did, which is to show them how it folds up. And you start the fold on the blue and on the line. Okay? Does everybody get that? All right. And if you do use these, which I very much hope that you will, and you've got a story behind using this, please share it with me. I would really, really like to hear how God is going to use this. So that's the discipleship cycle in a tract form. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, very good. Okay, on January the 29th, we're going to have a BLG Leadership Appreciation Evening. It will be a time where basically the leadership from the adults, from preschool, children, middle school, high school, college on up. So it will be all adult leadership, as well as all the other BLG leadership that will be invited to an evening. It'll just be a dessert evening. We're not going to do a full meal. It'll be dessert. And I'm flying in a speaker who's a former ed guy that now works with Lifeway, and he's just a really sharp fellow, really kind of a guru, if you will, about BLG ministry, and just a really winsome, encouraging guy. And so he's going to be able to speak with us that night, and I look forward to having him here. Now, all the women, this date means nothing to you. Well, it might mean to some of you, but I know what many of you men are thinking, because you're having thoughts of it right now, that there's a football game going on, and you're missing the football game. I get that. So,
do that again?
Never. Well, I probably will. But this date is the week in between the Super Bowl. There's nothing going on this Sunday.
I would expect nothing less from you.
So I did hear your cries this morning, Les, and we won't. There will not be a football game that evening. Okay, let me give you, and you'll hear more about that as it comes by. I just want you to get it on your calendars. Let me give you an update on the 11 o'clock chapel service. You obviously know we put a lot of eggs in that basket over the past year and 1 week. We celebrated a year last week, and God has just really blessed that service. We've had, I think, 6 or 7 straight weeks now over the 400 mark. So it's really got some traction. I think today was our lowest Sunday. For the probably 4 weeks, we were at 419. Today, we've been upwards of 460. So God's just really beginning, well, he's not beginning, he has blessed it, but it's really starting to mature, I think, if you will. Those folks that we did not know, we're starting to get to know them because we're seeing them week after week after week. We baptized a number of them in the Gulf last week. And the BLG classes that we have put to push the 11 o'clock chapel service, which is at 9:30, those classes are really beginning to get their legs underneath them as well. The shoots over here have a class. What's your age range, Artie?
Well, we're usually 50 and over.
50 and over, and you know, for probably the first 6 months, these two thought I was crazy. You know, there'll be no one's going to come to our class, and what I kept saying, RD?
Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping, hang in there, hang in there. God's going to mature it, and you know what? They got a class.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have had upwards of 12, 13 in the class, maybe even more.
Lots of days,
Yeah.
16 once.
Very good. So, really praising the Lord for that. In fact, the Alvarez's today, they had 6 there. No, we're counting babies.
Oh, we're counting babies.
7?
More than 8.
8.
More than that.
8. Big day today. But you know what? I really appreciate the 930 crew's attitude here, because on those Sundays when they looked at me like, John David, this just ain't going to happen. You know what? It is happening. And it's been slow, but they've stuck in there. And all of those people, and that's a lot of people. When I say a lot of people, out of 420, 30, 40, there may be 200 of them that are brand new to the church. They're going to get plugged in. It's going to take a little time. I mean, in fact, it's taking more time than I had hoped or thought, but they're going to. And we have a place for them to land. So I really do thank you guys for your sticking with it, even when it was just probably a little bit depressing at times. So I appreciate you doing that very much. But anyway, 11 o'clock service, doing really, really good. Now let me give you just kind of a heads up here. Traditionally, you know, in the past, we had kicked off the 11 o'clock worship center service sometime in November, when numbers kind of dictated it. And last year, because of the renovation of the chapel, we did not kick off in November, and we pushed that date back to January 1. Now, the reason we did it, obviously, was because of the renovation of the chapel and getting that service started, but we knew we could do it number-wise. We think we can do that same thing again. So probably, don't hold me to this, but probably that 11 o'clock worship center service will not start till the first Sunday in January. Now, last year, Pastor did video for about 4 months for that service. We're rethinking that. We may do some teaching rotations in there with some of our staff members that like to preach, your Troy Maragoses and Kevin Taylors, and so we'll see how that plays out. Just a little side note here. Churches that have satellite venues, i.e. campuses, videos work. And they seem to work very well. What we did not necessarily anticipate was that at the same hour, we are showing a video 75 feet max, maybe 50 feet from the room where the live speaker is. We didn't necessarily understand that dynamic, but it kind of got shown to us that a lot of people, you know, the music is fine, but when it comes down to it, we want to see the live speaker if he's here, and all I have to do is walk from the chapel 50 feet over to the worship center. So that's why we're rethinking the video. But nothing's been set in stone on that, but that just gives you a little heads up on what that's going to be like. The event truck, you know, I told y'all last January that we had this great idea for an event truck, and I came to this meeting and it was, you know, I said we're doing an event truck and love to have you guys take part in it and use it. And this meeting looked at me like I had 3 heads. And I went home that night to my wife, and she said, "How'd it go?" And I said, "Terrible." I said, "I did the worst presentation I think I've ever done in my life about something new. I tried to explain the event truck." And so I just kind of held on to the belief that we're going to get this thing, it's going to be a reality, and we're going to start using it, and people are going to get saved, and it's going to be a tool that we can use in our community. And guess what? 2 months later, we got the event truck. And we put this cool wrapping on it. And then we loaded it up with all kinds of things to do block parties and show videos and cook burgers and hot dogs and play cornhole. And to date, there have been well over 30 people that have come to Christ through the ministry of that event truck. And the rain may hinder us, but Greg Clydesdale is going to come talk about it in just a little while in detail. And I'd like to, if the rain's not going on right after this meeting, I'd like for you as you step out just to take a look in it and just let him kind of show you what's there. But I really, really am praying and hoping that some of our adult classes will really begin to pray and think about how could we use the event truck. Do we have people in our class that live in neighborhoods that might just be conducive to pulling this event truck up, doing an advertising for a neighborhood watch party at their house, and invite the whole 3 neighborhoods in a circle of their house, and have 50, 100 folks in their front yard and driveway? You know, I would really like for us to begin to think. That was an amen from God. I would really like for us to think about how that can happen. So anyway, Greg's going to come and share with us in just a few minutes about how they're using it. And I get it. I really do get it. It is maybe more conducive to a younger crowd. But let's really begin to think outside the box. And let's think reality. In some of our neighborhoods, and I get it, some of your neighborhoods you don't have young people. I get that. But there's a lot of you that do have neighborhoods that have got families. And you may not know them. And in fact, I'm reading a book right now that I'd recommend to any of you called The Art of Neighboring. The Art of Neighboring. And it may be something that I bring to this group for us all to read. I'm not sure yet, but I may. But boy, it is really convicting me again over about who is my neighbor. Do I really care about the folks that live next to me or behind me or around me? And so I want us to really think about and pray about using that. Okay, as you all know, well, I'll say you all know. Y'all know we're doing a cookbook? Yes. Y'all heard about this? Ladies cookbook. You can't use it? Oh, we can't contribute?
No.
Through your wife.
Oh, I'll just give it to Rhonda.
There you go.
She can do it. We're doing a cookbook. And we need some help with it. And what I have right here is a list of recipes. Oh, Debbie, you're the kingpin on this, aren't you? Or queen pin.
Co-chair, yeah. She's
co-chair. We got the co-chair right here. Did you make up the rule that men can't contribute?
No.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything. Okay, there are recipes. There are recipes in here. We can't put the recipes in the recipe book unless they have been tested. All right, so if any of you would like to look through this as you leave, take a recipe or two, try it out, and give your opinion of it. You can just sign up here for it, and then you find the recipe in here. I'd love for you to do that. That would be a big help. Debbie, would that be a big help?
That would be a big help.
Big help. All right. Yes, sir.
Well, our class had a fellowship about 3 Friday nights ago. We took desserts, and so every couple that showed up, and there were 16 of them, brought desserts, and so that's how we tested it.
Off of the oh.
Yeah, so it's a great way to have a fellowship. You must be able to grab, 8 or 20 recipes, because they've got over 500 recipes that need to be tested.
Wow.
They do desserts.
Well, here's the special caveat to this. They need it done by next weekend. So, if you'd like to form a class social quickly this week, do it Friday night. Use some of these. Okay. Operation Christmas Child, you should have had sign-ups. Was it this week? Did you have them in there?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have them last week too?
Yes.
All right. So you've got 2 weeks of those. This is your last week of it, I believe. So make sure your folks get what they need out of that. Any questions, address those to Rhonda Wright. But I think I think we kind of know the Operation Christmas Child format. We've been doing it well for a lot of years and supporting it well. Okay, let's talk for just a minute about the Kingdom Mission Conference. The dates of it will be March the 1st through the 5th. Now, that is a Wednesday night through a Sunday. Now, we're actually going to kick it off, if you will, the weekend before. You guys remember Gordon Fort, who spoke on the Wednesday night that we kicked it off 2 years ago? Gordon's probably one of the best mission speakers that I've ever heard. And he really just lit it up in a great spiritual way. Here was the only problem with having Gordon Fort on a Wednesday night. We only had about 900 to 1,000 people here. And so what we decided to do this year is have Gordon come back, and let's have him the weekend before we start, have him speak to 4,000 people in all the services, because everybody needs to hear what he's going to say and how he's going to kick off missions. So we'll just kick it off that weekend. There'll be nothing special. There won't be missionaries in services, anything like that. In fact, the missionaries won't even be here yet, most of them. They're going to be flying in on Monday and Tuesday for us to kick it off on Wednesday. So we will have all of the Wednesday night folks combined in the worship center on Wednesday night as we kick the conference off. And then we will do some of the same things we did 2 years ago. I'm not going to assign BLGs to missionaries. We're not going to do that. But what we are going to do this year is on Friday night and Saturday morning, we're going to have the breakout sessions that we had on Saturday morning 2 years ago, which everybody that came to said, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. This is fantastic. There should be more that I get to hear, and there should be more people here. Why aren't there more people here? Well, part of it was probably that it was on a Saturday morning. We just offered it once, and I think there were some conflicts of things going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that format, we just call it breakout times, where we will have missionaries that will be assigned to rooms all around the DC hallway, and they will have one presentation per se that they do 4 to 6 times. Same presentation, and what you will have the ability to do is come on Friday night and pick a couple on Friday night that you want to go hear. And then if you say, hey, I want to come back, well, you can come back Saturday. They're going to be saying the same thing. But you can go to others that you didn't get to hear on Friday night. Friday night will be desserts. We'll probably just line the DC hallway with desserts. And then we will have just kind of pastries and coffee, not a full breakfast on Saturday. We're just going to have pastries on Saturday morning. We kind of did the full-blown breakfast last year, or 2 years ago, which I don't think was necessary. We're just going to kind of low-key that part of it, and then that will be what that looks like on Friday night, Saturday morning. And then Pastor, Dr. Wicker, is going to wind up the conference on that weekend, the 4th and the 5th, and that's when we will pledge for the next year with Kingdom Mission offering. And one thing that I would pray, or I would ask you to pray about, that we can all pray about, is I really am hoping and praying that God will begin to move in people's lives to where they walk an aisle, if you will, and they say, you know what, God's working on my heart, on my life, and He's calling me and my wife, He's calling our family to missions. Would love to see some folks come out of First Baptist Church. So be praying toward that. Kingdom Mission offering, we are at, well, probably it's closer to probably $350,000 after this weekend. That was last weekend's total. So our goal was $500,000. I think once season kicks back in, our giving will tick up a little bit. I think it's very possible that we will meet that $500,000 mark. Now, one of the beautiful things about, well, there's many beautiful things about the Kingdom Mission Offering. Who we support, what we give to, but and you go, one of the things that we want to make sure with the Kingdom Mission Offering, I think we've done it very well, is just transparency. You can pick up one of our books, and you can see who we give to, and you can see what we give. But one of the things that we do is we leave a couple of just extra funds. One is called International Potential, one is called USA Potential. And those are funds that when something like the floods happen in Louisiana, guess what we have the ability as a church to do? Struck a check. Give immediately to them. Muslim Bible Day. Struck a check. 600 Bibles getting into Muslim hands in this next year. So there's an incredible amount of good that comes through the Kingdom Mission Offering. Now, I want to double back because I had a discussion before most of you got in here with mission giving in your classes. I want to, and I say double back, this is probably triple, quadruple back to this, but I need to do it, and so let me see if I can be as clear as mud here. Before I got here, before we started the Kingdom Mission Offering, missions and BLGs was just kind of a free-for-all. Whatever you wanted to do, you just did it. I get that. That's the way it was. Fine. That's okay. But in a church, in an organization like a church, saying, okay, now we're going to do a mission offering, like Kingdom Mission Offering, you kind of got to focus on that one offering, because if you don't, you'll cripple that. But at the same time, I knew that we had a lot of organizations. That one that we were talking about earlier with the Marzinkis was Soldier Care. Well, those organizations started before we had the Kingdom Mission Offering. And part of the way that they supported financially what they felt God called them to do was BLG classes would give to them. And so they started before we started something new. And so we completely understand that, and we kind of use the term grandfathered in. There's a number of organizations like that are grandfathered in. And I don't have a problem with you as a BLG periodically, taking an offering for those things that were already in the ebb and flow of your BLG before we started the Kingdom Mission Offering. Here's what I would ask you to do. I would ask you to keep those somewhat at a minimum. When people need it or you hear of the need, great. But the ones that you currently have, I would ask you to stay with those. And what I mean by that is don't add. Don't add any more on top of that. Because through the Kingdom Mission Offering, we try to each year add and grow that. So any questions on that? I just want to make sure I'm clear on it, because I get those questions periodically. Any questions on that? Okay. Great. Yes, ma'am.
Emphasis for the missions within only international, or will it be a combination this time?
No, good question, Susan. The first 2 years ago was heavy international. This year will be international and USA church planting, because last year, which was the in-between year, we introduced to you the 2 church plants, Alaska and Burbank. We introduced those to you. Well, this year we're bringing everybody together. And in fact, I can tell you one that we're adding, which is a church plant in Tucson, Arizona. And it is with a guy named Brian Hook. Does anybody know who Brian Hook is? All right. Well, Brian is right now the missions pastor at Hope Church, which is a Southern Baptist church plant about 15 years old in Las Vegas. Actually, Henderson, Nevada. And Brian is their missions guy. Well, Brian, previously to be in there, had done a church plant in the Phoenix area, a collegiate church plant. But Tucson is home for him. It's where he was raised as a boy. And so he had always had a heart to go back to Tucson. It is a very, very, very unchurched area. So Brian, for those of you who don't know, was on our staff back in the mid to late 90s. He was, I believe, youth pastor, is that right? Student pastor, probably before they were middle school and high school. But I didn't know Brian, passed about a month and a half, 2 months ago, but I've had a number of phone conversations with him. He is a sharp fellow. And I love supporting church planners like that. So, and he'll be here. He'll be here on Wednesday night of the conference. So you'll get to see him. So good question, Susan. Thank you. And also, you know, one of the things that we do is in the Commons, we have everybody set up a table, a booth, to where you can interact with missionaries before and after the worship times. Well, on the weekend prior, which is when Gordon's going to be here, the one thing we will do is we will invite local partners to set up in the Commons, as in the Pregnancy Resource Center, how it helps outreach, group FCA, groups like that. So they'll have a time too, because we support them through the Kingdom Mission Offering. All right, any questions on that? Okay. I'll put my glasses on to read this. Okay, trunk and treat. Renee Blaine. Does everybody know Renee? Renee, raise your hand. We're so excited about Renee. She is turning the preschool world upside down and back together again. It's awesome. And one of the things that was really a joy for me when I came was that probably from when I started December 1, 3 years ago, till, I don't know, June or July, about every other week, someone somewhere on church staff would say, oh, hey, you might not have heard this, but this is one of these things that you have to do. And so Renee, I vividly remember in our talks before you came that I did say this. We didn't make a big deal about it, but we kind of slid it in, that Renee was going to be in charge of trunk and treat. So about a month and a half ago, it dawned on Renee, I'm the leader of this. And she's doing a great job. So Renee, talk to us about what we need to do with trunk and treat.
So starting next week, you will have sign-up sheets in your BLG folder so that you can sign up, have people in your class sign up to be trunks to come and bring their cars. When they do that, there'll be an information sheet that they get that explains to them what time to be here on. It's going to be on Halloween on October 31st from 6:30 to 8. It'll give them instructions of what time to get here, how to decorate their trunk, what not to put in their trunk, if they want to bring candy, if they will have candy, that's the other thing. If you'll encourage people in your BLG to bring lots and lots and lots and lots of candy, that would be great. There are blue bins throughout the campus that they can put that in, or they could just bring it to the preschool rotunda. There's always somebody there that can take it for them. It's an exciting event. I'm thrilled to be able to, I've never seen it before, but I hear it's a lot of fun. So check with me on November 1st, and I'll let you know. No, I'm really looking forward to it. So, but starting next weekend is when you all will start seeing information in your BLG folders so that you can get your members kind of plugged in to how they can be a part.
The truck's here.
Thank you very much, Renee. Okay, curriculum. Yeah, Susan.
Can I interject something since we just talked about Renee and the preschool?
Mm-hmm.
And it may apply to Betsy as well, but years ago, some of you have been doing this as long as we have, recall when the BLGs were asked to be on a rotating basis to sign up people in your class to provide, you know, the temporary volunteers or a 1 week volunteer to do that. And I think because they didn't continue to give us a sign-up sheet, we thought, oh, well, you know, we're done and we don't need to do that anymore. But we have just continued to do that and try and provide them. So I don't know if there's a way that Renee can.
That's why they're here
That's what
tonight.
she's giving us and each week, and it has been a blessing to, because there's some people in your classes that, well, I can't teach, you know, I don't have the time, I couldn't commit for a long period of time, but you see a yellow spot on that sheet, you go, oh, well, I could go do 3-year-olds or whatever. And like I said, if Betsy needs help in that way, we don't know to help if we don't know what the help is needed. So I would just encourage everybody to consider finding out more about what those needs are.
First week we passed that around, I think we had 11 or 12 of our people sign up for it, and they were excited about it.
Yeah, and it's been a huge success. I mean, the Dixons get a copy of, when I remember, which I try to be good at remembering, but when I remember, the Dixons get a copy of my calendar, and then she'll email me back and say, these are the people who will fill your yellow spots. So I'm able to reach out to those people and get them connected. So it's
Very
very
good.
helpful.
Very good, yeah.
Sometimes it's harder for us to do Saturdays, so especially those of you
Mm-hmm.
all that are Saturday BLGs, that might be something that you all could encourage your folks to do.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Thanks, Susan. Okay, curriculum. Got a table over here. I try to bring this to you each time with things for you to use. I got a lot of Lifeway materials here. They've really begun to listen to the churches on 6, 8, 10-week series. You'll see those kind of over on the right side. And then there's some video topical things on the left side. I do want to encourage you, if you have not gone through, tell someone. Do that. You got about 3 months left to get that done in this year. So please do that. Heard great reports on how God used that. Also, when you start a new subject, if you get one of these, something you get from me, or you just find something you like, or you just pick a book of the Bible or a character and you're focused on it, would you mind just to shoot me an email? Just let me know what you're doing. I've got a number of you that are real serious about doing that, and I appreciate that. When I can know what you're doing, it just helps me. It helps us all. So when you change from here on out, if you don't mind, just shoot me. We don't need small talk. All you need to do is just say, this is what we're doing, and that'll be great. That'll help me. I do want to tell you this. There's a couple of really great studies here. Character studies, Joshua, Elijah, and Moses. This was a series that the men pulled from last spring in Band of Brothers, where we did Daniel, and who else did we do? Who do we do? Nehemiah and Daniel. It's the same series by Gene Getz. So really great study. In that study right there, you would have 3 months of lessons easy, 2 to 3 months. Okay, recruit. Need I say more? Recruit. This is one of these things that we've just got to continue to get up for, continue to do. You're here because you're passionate about your classes. You're passionate about teaching. You're passionate about connecting people to the Word of God and to His family. Okay, let's take that to the next steps. There are hundreds of people on this campus each weekend who are not connected to a Bible and Life group. And you sit around them in the worship center every week. And so I want to encourage you as leaders, encourage your classes to be proactive. Your best fishing ground is the worship center. It's getting there a little early, staying a little late, and doing this weird thing called conversation, where you just find someone that you don't know or maybe do know, get to know them, introduce yourself, and ask this simple question. Hey, you go to BLG? Well, no. Come to mine. It's not hard, but we've got to continue to do that. So teachers, you do it by example. Coaches, you do that. Encourage your class members to do that as well. Call people on rolls from the past 12 months that have attended. Here's what I mean by that. You can get with Parker Lyon to get this information. If you have someone in the past 12 months that came 2 or 3 times, call them. If they hadn't been here in 3 months, I don't care. Call them anyway. Even if they were just here once in the past 12 months, call them. Get in contact with them. It very well may be that person says to you, well, I've gone to another BLG. Well, praise God. They're in another BLG. That's okay. Don't worry about that little rejection thing there. Go ahead and do it. Let's shepherd people. Let's make sure that folks are plugged in somewhere. If they're somewhere else, that is okay. Rejoice with them. Tell them you love that Bible and Life group teacher that they're going to now, and wonderful. You're still friends, but at least you know where they're at. And they know that they're cared about, and if something happens in that BLG, where's the BLG they're probably going to come back to? Yours. All right, so contact folks over 12 months. You can get with Parker Lyon to get that.
Are you talking members on our rolls? Or are you
People who are
talking-
on your rolls. People who are on your rolls that you haven't seen. That you look at and you say, you know, I haven't seen them in a while. But, you know, if they've been there within the past 12 months, give them a call. And you know who the folks are that are your steady eddies. But if there are folks that hadn't shown up in the last little while, you give them a call. Visitors must be contacted. Visitors must get, I can't say that, out of all the things I could say, this is the most important. If somebody takes that step to come to a class with a bunch of people they don't know, we owe them a contact. You owe them a contact from your class. So please, don't let anybody visit your class that you do not get contact information from. Now, I get those sometimes, and I shoot them back to you. I'm shooting them back to you thinking, surely you got this. But I want to make sure because you're the first line. They may come to your class, and I may never, ever know about it. If you fill something out and you get something out of the box, yeah, they'll be contacted. But it doesn't mean near as much for me to contact them if they came to your class. If they came to your class. So you need to get in contact with them.
I have a question on that.
Yes, ma'am.
We fill out our roles, and the visitors, if we're lucky, will give us their names. How are we supposed to contact them? They're not gonna fill out a form. I mean, all they do is on that roll sheet, they'll put their name down. Some of them argue against doing that. But we're not taking their number or any kind of information when they're.
You're not getting contact information on those folks?
Not on the ones that are just popping in and visiting for the day. They just fill out that they were there.
Well, I'd like to get contact information from them. And either you or Steve need to explain to them why it is that we need that. And you may get some kickback. I understand that. But we need to get folks to fill that out. Because we don't, you wouldn't believe how many people we have information on and how many we don't have information on. So we need you to get that if at all possible. Okay? And you're just going to have to take time in your class to do it. Now, I know it takes teaching time out, but we got to do it. Okay. Now, Renee and Betsy, I asked them to come tonight. They've got some help needs for their areas. So, Renee, let's start with Betsy. So, Betsy, talk to us about some things you need. But we'll get back to Renee. She's not off the hook.
All right, this funky little circle that John David did.
Funky little circle.
Well, they're not going to say that's all said. All right. On the little part that says, mature as a disciple and make disciples, we have opportunities in the children's department for people to be able to make some disciples. And it's a great place for people to start, be able to share a little bit about what they have been learning as they have been being discipled. And we have opportunities on Saturday and Sunday night in BLG as well as Town Square Worship to be able to do that. We are looking for people right now that could help tell the Bible stories to the children, or just be able to facilitate some things during Town Square Worship. And that's during worship on Saturday night and on Sunday morning. We also have opportunities for substitute teachers in Bible and Life for 1st through 4th grade, both Saturday and Sunday. So those are great places for you to be able to come and just have your people come and check out. If they're not really sure what grade that they'd be interested in, then what we do is we have them go ahead and visit in there where we have an established teacher and assistant so that they can kind of see what's going on in there. But it's a huge blessing. But I realize it's a big commitment too. But that's where people just need to step out on faith. And I just need you guys to really have your eyes out on people that you see really growing in the Lord, and now they are ready to share what the Lord's been doing in their hearts and lives. Or they're maybe in a new season of life where they want to be used in a different way than what they previously have been. So I need you to help and just keep your eyes out for those people that are growing, that they have a love for the Lord, and they would like to share that, and they'd like to share it with children. And it's we've got a great team over there, but we are increasing. And as John David has shared, the 11 o'clock service, whenever I started 4 years ago, we had about 23 children that would come regularly on Sunday mornings to BLG. And now our BLG numbers on Sunday morning are, what has it been, maybe the last 6 weeks, we have had more children on Sunday morning than we've had on Saturday night for BLG time. So that 11 o'clock service is making a difference for our families, and we're thrilled about that. Now, we have seen a few shift. A few families have shifted from Saturday to Sunday, but like John David said, the majority are not. They are new families. So we're very excited about that. Sports Outreach has also helped with that. We are seeing some families from Sports Outreach now more than ever come and get connected in with us. But we need people who love the Lord, and because of that love that they have for the Lord, they want to share it with children. So please be watching and encourage your people. And just like Susan said, if your class is Saturday, encourage them to come and serve on Sunday, or vice versa. We definitely have teachers that are currently doing that so that they still get a fellowship of adults as well. Not everybody will that work with, and that's fine, but it really does work and give people an opportunity to still stay connected with other adults. So I need you to just keep your eyes out there, and then encourage people that we have opportunities ready and available for them to come serve and to be blessed.
Thank you. Renee?
So I could just say ditto to everything that Betsy just said. That's just so true. There are so many opportunities. And I think one of the things when I started here 4 months ago, look at here, I made it. Just teasing. When I started, I think I came in believing it's such a huge church. I bet that finding people to serve is going to be so easy. This is going to be great. And I will tell you that I've been in this job, this one specifically for 4 months, but before that I've been in here for 5, I've worked in preschool ministry for 5 years as the director of preschool. And it's the hardest part of this job is finding the right people, getting the people to come and be in the classes. And especially, I think what I have found in a church this size is what we end up doing a lot is, well, just exactly what I did when I started. It's such a big church. I'm sure somebody else is doing it. And we have so many children and so many opportunities. And one of the things that I could really use, what the Dixon BLG does for me is great. I'm totally about if your class is interested and willing for me to give you a sheet with yellow boxes on it, because the yellow boxes means I don't have enough workers to open that class. So like that's my Saturday night, October 22nd and the 29th. It looks a little frightening to me, but God is so faithful and He always provides. So He will provide, and we will have classes and it will be great and wonderful. But I will tell you it's helpful if you can do that. Now, the other thing that would be helpful for me is if I could create a list, like what Betsy said about substitute teachers. Yesterday alone, I had 6 texts between 12 o'clock in the afternoon and 5 o'clock at night of people who said, I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. And it's legitimate reasons. My kid's sick. We've had a death in the family. We had to fly away really quickly. Like that is, I'm surely not going to say, I can't believe you're not serving when that's happened. But what I don't have is when they're texting me and saying, could you find somebody? I don't have that list, that go-to list of who can I call with a couple hours notice and say, hey, could you come in and serve tonight? So I'm trying to come up with like a contingency list of people that I can pull on situations like that. Even if it's Janet Wicker has been such a blessing to me and actually has told me that please put her, and she made sure I put her number in my cell phone so that in an event that I walked in and didn't have somebody, I could call her and she would get up and walk over and do it. And she's done it. It was hard for me to follow up on that, but she was serious when she told me to do that, and so I had to do it. But I was so grateful for that. So those are just a couple of, if your group is willing for this, I would love to put them in your folders. I can get them, I can figure out the best way to make that happen. But if people can't commit to, I want to work every Saturday, or I'll work the third Saturday of the month, but maybe they could say, hey, if she needed me, she could, here's my phone number, she could text me, and I could come over and just be extra hands. Because that's the other thing, sometimes we end up with 15 toddlers in a room, which is phenomenal, but 2 workers and 15 toddlers is a little overwhelming. So if I can add extra hands in there, that'd be great. So thank you all for your support.
Thanks. Thank you, Nancy. Betsy. Well, one of the things that we are doing is we are doing things just like that where people fill in for a week or this, that. That's great. We need that. But we can't run without people that are committed. And probably everyone in this room, at some point in your church life, you've worked with middle schoolers. You've worked a stint with children or preschool or high schoolers. You've done that. You've done that for a season. And you know what? Most people don't do one thing the whole season of all their life. But they do have seasons of service in different areas. And so what you need to do, I need your help with this. These guys need your help with it. Greg back there needs your help with it. You need to look at your class, and you need to, and this is part of that discipleship process of figuring out where people are at. And you need to say, you know, that person has been, you know, they've been here in our class for 10 years, for 5 years. I don't know that they've ever had a season of service. And that season of service might be a year. These ladies would take, you know, a couple or a single person, whatever it is, if they would commit to a year, they would rise up and call you all blessed if they came out of your classes. It's just for a season, just for a year. Greg, you've got some seasonal workers that have just started with, they'll be there for 2 or 3 years, and they'll, or maybe just 1 year, or maybe after a Wednesday night with you, it might be a month. But you know what? You know what? Seasons. Everybody needs to serve. So encourage your people to do that. And this isn't a word from God. But if you encourage some folks out of your class to leave your class, I do think God will replace it. He'll give you somebody else. So we need your help. Okay, Greg, I'm going to get to you in just a second as we conclude. But